Hello, everyone. Welcome back. We have a few less people today, probably because of the time zones shifts, savings, something like that. But there are a couple of items on the agenda that I put in, and there are some of those people in the call, so maybe we can start with that. I am gonna go to Igor first, maybe. Any updates you want to share for this week?
I don't have any updates this week, but I have a quick question though. Does Meta currently use OCP libraries internally? So, like, how popular is it internally? If you can answer that question.
How popular, I cannot answer in detail. For the first question is yes, we are using that in a couple of places.
I see. Okay, thank you.
Also, I don't have Venkat or Giovanni on the call, but maybe I can give a short update on that one. They have been working on the Rust API implementation, and it's going to be a bit of a time after until we can publish it. But there is some progress there. We'll get more details maybe next week from them directly. I know you are interested in that, so the goal here is well, it's more of a question, like if we publish a Rust API, would you have like use cases right now, Igor, for Rust diags?
For Google, probably no.
Okay. Next up, Satish and Hua. I had a look over the discussion on GitHub. I replied to some of the comments today. I know it's kind of short term since I actually did that. My question is, what are the current blockers that are stopping us from making progress with that discussion?
From our side, nothing. I think, in fact, I started looking into the implementation details already, just to get things going. But yeah, I think I will address the question about the measurement series. I think we can discuss it right now. So they are measurements taken at different wall clock. So we are not having a concept of running things in parallel, even though we are running in a loop, like we're checking all lanes. It's going to be still serial, so I don't think it's going to be in the same snapshot. We're just getting information across all the lanes serially. So I think for our use case, measurement series still makes sense. Now that I dig into the code, I remember we talked about it and we decided not to go with it earlier, but more and more I dig deeper, I see that that data structure fits best for our need. So I'm going to go with that, and we can look at it when Hua is around. Maybe we can have another round of discussion around. But for now, sorry, to answer your question, no, there are no blockers on our side. I'm going to continue.
Okay, cool. Thanks. Thanks for the update. So on the measurement series, I suppose you're gonna answer on the discussion as well.
Yes.
The important factor there is that they are chronological, right? So you measure the same thing, but at different points in time. That's why I mentioned wall clock. Just wanted to clarify that. Do you want to add anything to that, Juan?
But what's your measurement? What are you measuring?
The error count.
Error count.
Yeah.
Okay. But when you do the error count, there's also you're measuring the error count repeatedly during one step margin operation.
Correct.
Okay, in a series. Okay. But eventually it will, after the dwell time, it will just still marginally will pass, or if error out.
Correct.
Okay. You don't rely on the specs mechanism to fail, because the spec can have too many error, it will stop and report you the actual error count when it failed. You do not rely on that.
Correct. Currently, we are just looking for non-zero errors, like any non-zero errors, irrespective of the current state, whether the hardware stopped it or the hardware is still running, it's considered as an error.
Okay, but that is just one use case.
Mhm.
We want the specification to be flexible to handle all
Yeah,
implementation of, right?
correct.
So okay, and you're
Yeah.
saying that using the metadata to hold other information.
Exactly. Yeah, that is one of the sticky points at this point. Like I'm relying upon metadata for like error count limit and things like that.
Okay.
Well, sorry for interrupting. Let's finish with the status, and then we can go into the technicalities of this discussion.
Sure.
So I see a new name on the call, Carter. Hello, welcome to our group.
Thank you.
I would ask if you could do like a short self-intro, if you can do right now. Otherwise, we can finish with the status, and you have a bit of time to prepare. Maybe I know this is like out of a sudden. So
No, that's okay. Yeah.
okay.
So yeah, I'm Curtis May. I work for the UNH Interoperability Lab, and we're looking into OCP SSD testing and just seeing in general where what other testing initiatives are going on with the Open Compute project that we might be able to assist with or learn about, or just to get more of an idea what's going on with the ecosystem.
Got it. Thanks for the intro. Welcome again.
No problem.
I'm kind of curious. How did you learn about our group?
I learned. I mean, I attended the OCP regional summit, or sorry, the global summit before, and have been tracking it. And then just looked on the website for OCP and found all potentially applicable groups, and kind of went to or started adding all of them just to jump in and see what I can learn.
I see. Cool. Yeah, thanks for that. We actually just Venkat just joined, so he's gonna talk a bit about SSD diags since you're interested in that.
Perfect.
All right, I'll continue with the roll call maybe. Rajat, what is the current status for CTAM? Anything interesting for this week?
No, none. But we have, and was glad to know that Venkat was able to make progress, and even AMD is slowly coming on board. So yeah, that's kind of the only update. One thing I wanted to really ask, and I can start this off as a discussion in the CTAM work group, is on the connectivity aspect for manageability. CTAM is strictly using the management interfaces to enter into the system, which is, in our case, it is Redfish. But even to do that, you have multiple ways in which you can enter a particular server platform. So we kind of need to kickstart a discussion on exploring all these different ways before we reach that accelerator management controller, which is what it's targeted for. Yeah, so that's the thought process that I want to kickstart there. But apart from that, nothing else.
I see. Thanks for the update, Rajat. And that's great news to hear that AMD is starting to engage with the project. Did you manage to talk to Venkat? We had some discussion last week about the repo CI for CTAM.
Yeah. So I think we're going, once we switch to main, and considering the fact that we already have layers of bulletproofing flows that we have established, right? I think we can now switch, have stuff in main and stick to a single developer branch itself for between all for everybody.
All right, that sounds great. I think it's going to be a bit of a time investment to merge the existing branches as it is right now, because there's the NVIDIA separate one, and I think Microsoft has one as well.
NVIDIA and Microsoft, we have been, though we've been pushing stuff and we've been merging on a periodic basis into the developer branch. So we're kind of up to date already with respect to the developer branch. So very soon I'll initiate a push to the main as well, and we'll have like a 1.0 release there.
I see. Okay. And do you need help with setting up the CI for the main branch? What I was thinking, and we discussed this last time, was that we can follow the same kind of logic in terms of releases and CI for all of the repos that we maintain in this group, just for consistency purposes. So do you need any help in setting up some GitHub actions to publish on merging to the main branch?
So when you say CI, I guess it also includes some testing flows being incorporated.
Yeah, it depends. It depends, right? Maybe it's a bit of a stretch in this case. If we can have like some good testing for CTAM, that would be great. If we only have like unit testing available, because you need some actual hardware resources for that, then I think that would still kind of qualify, at least at this point.
Yeah, so we were discussing that in our internal meeting. It's just that we were not calling it CI, but we wanted to actually qualify every commit with kind of like a regression details. Of course, we don't want to call out which test case passed, which test case failed, because it might reveal some platform related information. But instead, if we just purely from the scenario, the test scenarios, the goodness of the test scenarios in the framework, yeah, we wanted to bake in some. So we already created regression suites. So, but we wanted to bake in the process in which we would say that, okay, this much of regression testing is sufficient to call it a commit into, like, say, developer, and a slightly larger set of regressions to qualify it being good for main. So we were thinking along those lines. But yeah, if you already have a standard established, I would like to take a look at that as well.
Okay, I can point you to another repo.
Yeah.
Thanks. I'll ask one more question before we move on. This testing that you are referring to right now, is this a manual step that you're thinking of, or can it be automated?
Yeah, the problem right now is it depends on. I mean, it's an automated flow in the sense that it picks one test after another and generates a report along with the score that we discussed previously. But you need a system underneath to be. It's not like one of these the by test like cases where you're just testing for the code alone. That being the case, I don't know how that impacts the question that you asked.
So what I'm thinking is if there's a way from Marcos, I'll mute you. If there's a way from the GitHub actions to be able to call into some other system that has the hardware resources, obviously with the necessary credentials and everything, just to have everything integrated and avoid the manual steps.
Yeah, I hear you. Now, the flow that you're interested in, I need to let me just explore a bit on whether we can initiate something like that to directly work on a system, right? And not violate any internal policies, right? I will explore about that and get back. Just about the philosophy of GitHub performing an action on a system.
Yeah, I mean, it doesn't have to expose anything if you have trade secrets involved specifically there. It could just say, okay, the test passed or it didn't pass. Maybe you can filter the logs or something. Anyway, this is kind of a complicated topic. I'll leave it at
I'll
this
talk to
for now.
Bhushan as well. I'll talk to Bhushan as well on this, and I'll get back to you.
Yeah, and on that, I don't know if you had a chance to speak to Bhushan about the NVIDIA cards that we were talking a while ago, because I imagine that if we can get that into the OSFCI setup that we were discussing last year from HP, there are already plans with Arun to make this kind of scenario that I just described work with the other repos. So we would leverage the public OSFCI in EMEA to test on actual hardware from the GitHub Actions.
Yeah, I did ask Bhushan about this last week. He had said that he would respond back. Let me actually initiate a mail thread on this so that it doesn't get lost. So let me, yeah. So,
if you want, I can dig up the email from last year.
Yeah, we can start with that. Yeah, let's just set a, yeah, if you can reply to all on that, then I'll also follow up with Bhushan what's the right approach for this.
All right, cool. I noted an action. I should share the meeting notes document here on chat. Okay. Thank you for the update. Venkat, any update you want to share for today? Maybe a bit on the Rust API, and we have like a new person on the call, Carter. I think they are interested in the SSD testing more specifically. So if you want to say a couple of words about that as well.
Sounds good. Yeah, I'll start the Rust topic. I think Gio's not on, but I think Adrian, Giovanni, and I kind of looked at the diff that Gio's working on. And Adrian had some kind of recommendations that we're kind of incorporating in terms of the API before we kind of bring it to Igor and kind of open source. I think we are trying to kind of get parity with the Rust APIs, right, in terms of how the user invokes the Rust tags. But yeah, this is very much kind of on and should be kind of a good contribution to the community. On the SST side, sorry, I joined a little late, Carter. I can tell you kind of a couple of SST DAGs that we're looking from an open source perspective. So one of them is like a suite of tests that we want to give to kind of the vendors for like pre-qual that includes tests like data integrity tests and some micro benchmark based tests specifically targeted for SSD. That should be kind of open sourced later this month with some changes following to kind of get it in the OCP TV format. The other internal DAG we have is also more of a long running RDT style workload for both his SSDs and HDDs called test drive. That's also kind of initial release will be around similar timelines. Yeah, I think really we're looking for kind of people to contribute and adopt and stuff because this has been very kind of a good track record of finding issues internally, and so kind of curious to see what others kind of make out of it.
All right, great.
Yeah, sure.
Where are you guys?
Yeah, we should be it should be in the open compute GitHub once it's kind of there. I think yeah, that should be coming end of March. So there's already a area for the storage. I think it's called open source like OCP storage staging. I think that Adrian, you set up.
Yeah, the repo is empty right now. Carter, I can post a link here in the chat if you're interested with the
Yep.
main repo, and that should have like links to all of the other artifacts because there's a couple of repos, it's not just one.
Sure. Yeah, sounds good.
Okay. Thanks, Venkat. Rajat was actually mentioning earlier something about Redfish for connectivity, and I know you asked me some things this week as well. Do you have anything on that discussion for right now? Maybe a quick question or anything for Rajat? Do you think it would be better, or we can continue on a GitHub discussion?
Yeah, I think with Rajat, we spoke this Monday, and right now, yeah, I think we are aligned on the model like Rajat mentioned. So we pushed some changes to developer to kind of get it working within our infra at Meta. I think once there's a release to the main, we'll start consuming it. Specifically on the topic of kind of the connectivity. I think internally we mapped out kind of the endpoints that we care about. I think we can take the discussion in GitHub. Any suggestions and kind of recommendation from our side in terms of how we have like the discrete and the UBB models kind of represented, and the access to the AMC endpoint. So, yeah. Rajat, I see your hand up.
Yeah. Hey, Venkat, just one thing. So I see that you actually you have forked the repo and that's the fork is a private repo, right? And from there you're checking in stuff back into the developer branch, correct?
Correct. Yeah. So that one PR I made was from my private fork. Again, this is probably something I need to
No, that's okay. I mean, but is that the preferred model? Because yeah, I mean, we have something similar now. Like, I mean, I understand that we want to make like I personally the small commits at least, right? From say me or my teammates, I would not want them to be reflected in the CTAM commit section either, right? And I presume that's the same reason why you forked it, and then you would bunch them together, and then you would combine commit.
That's correct. Yeah. Yeah. So I bunch together enough in my fork of it and do a PR from my fork. And I think, I had a chat with Adrian too on how we'll consume it internally, right? Like we'll take the releases out of main. So for any contribution back, I think it'll be these short-lived forks into the contributors GitHub.
Okay, no, it just works. Just wondering. I mean, if we need to dole out the recommendations, I think this is one more good recommendation for everybody to follow. Yes.
Yeah, again, I think Adrian, I think that's kind of the model you were proposing as well, right? Like just a contributor makes a private fork and starts adding to it.
So I did not specifically say that last time. I said we can have a contributing markdown document in the repos explaining how the preferred method is for each of the repos because they have different maintainers, right? This is one of the options, like forking a repo and then you do a PR from your fork is an option. If you have sufficient permissions inside the repo itself to make another branch and PR that into the dev branch, then that's also okay.
Got it.
Okay. We are doing something similar internally. Instead of using a GitHub private repo, we're using an Azure DevOps private repo. And then we're doing again, so that our goal is again pretty similar. The smaller comments, the usages, for example, the workspace contents, all of those can remain private without having to check in those when we push it to the official CTAM repo.
Right. Yeah.
Okay. Cool. Thanks for the updates. I think we are done with that right now. Hua, you had some more concerns about the LMT output. Do you think this is something that we need to discuss right now with the whole group, or can we continue that discussion on the GitHub action thread, GitHub discussion thread?
We can take it offline. But just one question is that if we do a series of measurements, how do you specify the time interval? Because that kind of matters. Where do we encode that?
Yeah, so let
Time.
me add a sample in the GitHub discussion. Well, I think I see where the confusion is. Let me add a sample thread, and then we can continue with the conversation there. And probably we can also meet like the way we met last time if the conversation is not getting clear, getting close to clarity. Sorry, go ahead.
I have a quick answer to that as well. There isn't a way to specify the sampling period itself, but every message has timestamps. So that is the implication that whenever you have a new series element, that is the timestamp of the collection.
Okay, I see. Yeah.
Okay,
by the way, there was also some discussion on that timestamp of the message and the timestamp of the collection of the measurement. It's still a bit unfinished right now. For now, you should consider the message as having the same timestamp as the collection. Sorry, Satish, you were saying something.
No, sorry, I misunderstood Hua's question. I think you answered it correctly.
Okay, cool. So in that case, I would propose that we end somewhat earlier today. I think most people have other priorities right now, and we don't have a bunch of people on the call that I had on the agenda for the status. So before we go, is there anything else that anyone wants to raise up for this week? Okay, I'll take that as a thank you for joining today, and we'll continue next week. Thanks. See ya.
Thank you.